channel. We were live on the other channel for like a little bit, and I don't know, so I tried to schedule it. I was telling you earlier, I tried to schedule it, and I guess scheduling isn't a thing that I can do, because it wasn't letting me do. It was just me going live. That's why I didn't call you right on time. But it was just me going live. I couldn't do the hangout on air. So, but hey, we're here.
Hey.
We have one viewer, so that's awesome.
One viewer?
Cheers, one viewer.
It's probably my wife from the other room.
So I did think of this though. If you want to go down in the bottom corner where it says links, if you click on that and you click on our YouTube page, go and put that. Go and put that in the description or in our bio on Instagram, so people can. Do you see in the bottom right-hand corner?
Yeah.
Where it says links.
No, I don't have that.
Oh, maybe I got to do it then.
I don't have any of the cool stuff. Like literally, it's just a video of you talking. So whatever.
Hey.
Any of that tech stuff you got to do, man. You're the caller of the callers. So
yeah, it's my deal, I guess. So all right, well, we got one viewer here.
See, I can't even see that. I don't even know what you're talking about, but
that's pretty cool. Well, maybe it's you because it says Craig Compton joined the group chat.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Group chat. If somebody is here who's not Craig, then make yourself known. But I'm just gonna throw a little what's up in the group chat.
Yo,
if you can see this. We didn't go through all of these little things when we did our trial run the other day.
No, we didn't test any of this stuff out, so it's all still new. Learn on the fly.
Working out the kinks. It's fine.
It'll be fine.
Can you see my chat though? When I just put that up there?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
That's it though. That's all I can see. I don't see anybody viewing. I don't see anything else. Just that you typed something.
Huh. Well, I'm gonna go live on our Instagram really quick.
Oh boy.
And let the people know we're here.
Let them know.
First of all, I'm gonna adjust this link here to make it accurate. It's gonna take a hot second. So I was thinking about all the different things that we could talk about today when it comes to disc and what's coming up. But I was just telling you the other day about how one of our videos on our old chat or our old channel has 8,000 views, and neither one of us had checked it since 2016.
Would have never guessed it.
What's that?
I would have never guessed it.
I would have never guessed it either. But it was there, and it had that many page views, or that many watches, I guess.
Right.
And I think we should swipe it.
What?
I'm here.
You're cutting in and out. I don't know what's going on.
Huh.
It's just not our day.
No, it's not. Hey, technology is weird sometimes, but I am
gonna
post a live real quick. It's checking the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's up, Instagram? We are live on the YouTubes. Check out the setup we got going on here.
What up? What up?
There's Craig. So if you want to check out our live stream on YouTube for the next hour or so, we're enjoying some brewskis, and we're going to be talking disc golf for the next hour. The link is in our bio on here on Instagram. So go ahead and hit that link, and it'll take you over to the YouTube video currently in progress. And we're going to talk about a grip tip that we just recently discovered on an old channel that we had. Has like 8,000 views. So people are appreciating it. We're going to talk about how it shaved some strokes off of our game. And then we're going to talk about our upcoming plans for tournaments this year. Right, Craig?
Sure.
Including the Gratiot County Open, the homecoming for yours truly.
Yes.
So I'm going to sign off on here on IG and put the folks back over here with Craig on the stream. So we'll hope to see you over there. Peace.
On IG, huh? That's pretty hot.
IG. We had Carmen and Shad were for hanging out with us on there.
It's nice.
I'm gonna see if I can access the stream on my phone right now and like watch us while we talk. It's gonna be weird.
That's gonna be really messy. Just I wouldn't even do it. We're not off to a great start so far here with technology,
Yeah,
so
look,
I wouldn't
we're here.
Jinx it.
We're here, man. We're in business. It's really strange watching yourself on delay, but hey, here we are. So I'm going to. So you're gonna have to tell me, Craig, if you can hear the video when I pull it up here in a second, because that was my concern, is that people wouldn't be able to hear it. But I'm gonna pull up the video and do a screen share. I might switch my output back to my computer so we can maybe just get kind of jank audio that way. But if nothing else, we'll talk about it once it's playing.
Sure.
But when I'm playing it here, when I'm screen sharing it here, see, I can hear it in my headphones. Any chance you could hear it just there?
No.
I didn't think so.
All right, I don't think I'll be able to hear it. So.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and you're gonna lose me for a second.
Oh no. Silence.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen, or I'm gonna lose you. Actually, I guess I should say. Oh, there you are again. Hey. That's fun. Can you hear that as that's being played?
No.
No. All right, cool. That sucks.
Why don't you just talk about it?
So far, so great.
You know what you said in that video, so why don't you just grab a disc and show us here instead of on there?
All right. So you couldn't hear anything? I got your audio back in. Don't mess with me.
What I said is, you know what you said in that video. Why don't you just grab a disc and show us on here instead of on the video?
That was the plan.
All right.
So
that was the plan, but you're not prepared.
In the event of that happening, that was going to be the plan. But basically, that video was talking about a video that I watched like in 2009 of it was Michael Johansson, obviously my boy. Got his comment right here. Michael Johansson and Robbie Bratton. Do you remember Robbie Bratton at all?
No.
I
don't.
I think that that we kind of, so it was like me, Dan, and Sam, and we were kind of into disc, and then you came on a couple years later. But Robbie Bratton, I'm saying that we introduced you to disc. You can't argue me on that one.
I can't. You're right.
But Robbie Bratton was the guy who gripped his drivers like that, and instead of like the 4-finger regular grip. So he gripped the driver like that, and for whatever reason, that like switch. We all tried that grip for our drivers, and that was when I had that X Nuke, and I could throw it farther than any of the other guys could throw their discs at the time. Even though I was like the least athletic of the bunch, but it was because I was using that grip, and they all switched over to that grip after a little while. But in that same video, it was Michael Johansson. He was talking about how he uses the fan grip for all of his shots, even drivers. And then he was talking about how on the thumb angle, he'd hold a thumb out here for like a straighter shot. And then if he wanted to throw like a hyzer shot or like do a stall out hyzer, he'd move his thumb in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really messed around with that for the longest time until I started throwing comets. And then I remembered watching him in that video and how he said that was like his trick or whatever for his grip, that every single throw he used the same grip. And then that was the only thing they changed was the thumb angle. And so I was having problems. We played a lot at the time that I had comets when I first had the comets, and you remember how they'd come out and they'd just kind of flutter, and getting that thumb into the center of the disc on the middle of the flight plate and applying pressure more, more in here as opposed to like there, which is more neutral, more in there. Got the disc out on that natural hyzer line, and just because if you grip like this, like a neutral spot, that's what the disc is going to do. You move your thumb, and it just kind of dips the wing a little bit. You put it out there, and you got pressure more that's kind of tilting the wing up. But So applying pressure more to the middle of the disc kind of just pops it out on a little bit more of a hyzer. And now I throw all my putter approaches that way. I can control all my mid-range shots pretty much that way. Like we played the other day, and obviously I've got a couple different buzzes that one's more straight and one's more stable and one's a little flippier. But even with like that flippy one, I can use that thumb trick to flip it out there on more of a hyzer and get it to pop up and go straight and then not finish so hard, as opposed to where if I throw like the normal stable buzz that I have and I just throw it with a normal grip, it's going to give me that kind of left to right action and still finish overall straight. But that's what that video was about. I think maybe I'll try and snag it from the old channel and put it on here, and delete it off the old channel. And or maybe I won't delete it. I don't know. We'll see. But people seem to dig it, and we had started it as like a mini tutorial series, and I think we should get that back up and rolling, because it was like a 3-minute video, which so many of these disc golf tutorial videos are lengthy and complicated.
Yeah.
And I think the simpler stuff people seem to like. So
yeah, people don't have an hour to sit around and learn how to be a better putter and putt like Paul and Ricky, and they just want those instant results. So if you've got the magic key to how we can all putt like that, I'd tune in.
Yeah. And if you're watching a video and it's got 8,000 views on it or whatever, I mean, I have that one driving video from like 6 years ago now at this point that's got like 40,000 views on my personal channel. And all it was another thumb thing. It was gripping, instead of like with gripping, instead of with this part of your thumb, with that part of your thumb.
Yeah.
And doing that thing. And it's not like I'm like, that was actually an Avery Jenkins thing. I learned that from Avery Jenkins, and he wasn't even trying to like make that point, but I extrapolated it out. And it's kind of the same thing that happened with the Michael Joe thing. Like he didn't say exactly that tip of like, hey, this is how you can throw a hyzer shot without changing your body angle or changing the way that you throw, other than this one little thumb move. He didn't say that, but after I kind of thought about it and experimented, I learned it. And that was the same deal with the driving video that's got like 40,000 views. Is I had been pinching like this instead of like this, and I was so bad. And then I changed that one little thing, and it was like instant results. And that's what people like to see.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it really is. It's just something simple like that, or even just in your feet and where your hips are going. I mean, there's so many little things that you could change about a disc golf shot that's going to affect where the disc ends up ultimately.
Yeah. And, we were talking about form and picking out some of the similarities that the pros have when it comes to form. Things like getting that heel down and snapping that front heel down and snapping the front foot over, as opposed to spinning on your toe and stuff like that. But other than that, so many guys that are really good at disc, their throws look so different that it's really, once you have the fundamentals down. Like I was just watching some Jomez Pro coverage earlier today of like the best shots of 2018 or something like that. And Eric Oakley, I don't know if you can like call to mind what he looks like when he throws.
Yeah.
But he gets like his arms way out. And and it's like a Garrett Girthy upper half with like a Dave Felberg lower half. Like his legs do a Felberg like a little skip hop, but his arms are outspread like Girthy used to do. And it works for him.
And that's really all it is. I mean, it's how you get from point A to point B doesn't really matter as long as you get there. I mean, think about your run up for a drive, and you hear all the time you don't want to pump the disc out, and then you hear other guys that say it's okay to pump the disc out. I mean, I think Paul, he pumps the disc way out.
Paul, for sure. Nate Doss, like he's not playing a ton anymore, but he would you'd watch footage of him in a tournament, and he'd like hold it way out here for like half of his run up, and at the last second reach back.
Yeah, but it's all just, I mean, whether you just take the disc and you go straight back, or you go there, then to there, as long as the timing's there and you get full reach back as the time your front foot's hitting, I mean, it's all the same thing. So it's just a matter of getting, like you said, the fundamentals down and getting that disc all the way back as your front foot's hitting. Doesn't matter how you got there, just as long as that timing's there.
Yeah, and it really is about time. I remember when I was first starting, and I think there's a video of this somewhere. I don't know if it's on my YouTube or where it's at. But I was out playing CMU with Dan, and hole 16, the big open one,
Mm-hmm.
I had a super beat up DX Beast, and I was using that Robbie Bratton 2-finger spin grip like we were just talking about, and I knew that I had to put it on a pretty good hyzer, but the way that I would throw back in the day was literally to like start my run up with my disc out here. And as I'm like walking through my steps, curling it across my body and like
Oh, yeah.
making sure my hip or my left arm's at my hip and then turning. And so it was like really slow, but that was the only way that I could make sure that all my timing was in line with like my whole body. And I think most of the time when I find that I'm throwing really bad, it's because usually my hips are out of time. Usually I'm not snapping my hips around at the proper moment, and my shoulders are getting either ahead of my hips or behind my hips.
Yeah.
And things are just going terrible. But this all kind of came out of talking about that video that we can't watch on here, but
We
we'll
know
drop
the
it in the
video.
channel, or maybe I'll put a link in the description for people that are watching this later to go check that out on our old Central Disc Company channel. You mentioned some people were still a little confused about the whole deal.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just recap what has happened since 2016 when we were formerly
Yeah.
known as
So,
Central Disc Co.
I mean, I've had multiple people here in Central Michigan, which is where you were, and we started a business and we sold discs and um, other disc golf stuff. And things kind of happened, life happened, we kind of stopped, and now we're launching this up and taking a different approach because you're in Texas now and I'm still here, and it doesn't really make sense to have a retail shop. So we're transitioning more to just promotion and podcasts and photos and just two average Joes talking about disc golf. But I've had, I don't know, quite a few people this week just ask me, so you guys are starting that back up again? You guys are selling stuff again? And I have to explain to them, no, we're not selling stuff. Thanks for watching our first video, though. I'm glad to see you support us. Not selling stuff. We're just here to talk disc golf and help promote anybody that is good at disc golf, because it'd be awesome to be sponsored, but I don't think either of us really have. I mean, we both think it'd be cool, but we don't really have the aspiration or the time or really the skill or,
I think
go after a sponsorship.
I honestly think that, and we kind of joke that we're hashtag AMP3 for life.
Right.
But I really do think that we're in the same boat as a lot of other people, where if we could devote the kind of time
For
to
sure.
playing rounds that we want to, honestly, that we probably do want to at times, we could. I mean, that's the thing about practice. Not trying to say like, oh, we could be world beaters or anything, but we could maybe play AM2, but we're going to be baggers for life because we're really not great. I mean, I like to think that I'm pretty solid fundamentally, but it's just there's a certain amount of when you watch what the pros do, man. Watching the Jomez 2018 Top Shots today, like they're always on. It's like watching pro golfers. When you have an appreciation for how hard ball golf is, and then you watch the pros just do it perfectly every time, you just go, man, I'll never be able to do that, but I can appreciate watching them do that, But I think for us, as you said, this second half of the chapter or second part of the book or whatever you want to call it for Central Disc is really about just a community, because that in reality, in my opinion anyway, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I can speak for both of us. With Central Disc Co., our vision was to create a community space.
Yeah.
Like our vision was to give disc golfers in Central Michigan a place to go and to help build a community. And we can't do that physically anymore. And on the side of the retail side of stuff, we wanted to do discs. We wanted to, sell beer and do microbrews and stuff, and
long term,
all that stuff. And as life, like you said, life happened and things kind of changed. It was becoming obvious we weren't gonna be able to do that. But the core value of what we wanted to do is build a community. And so now we're going to try and do our best to do that online, because communities are thriving online more than they ever could before. So we're gonna be diligent in being here, and hope that we can use the connections that we have and the people that are connected to us on other platforms and stuff to get people here to have a little community time, and talk disc golf. So that's the vision, and that's kind of where things have been and where they're going. So yeah, that is that. I'm really bummed we couldn't get the video to work.
That'll be.
We're gonna have to figure out a way to do that. We're still working the kinks out here with this streaming thing.
As I've said before, I am not a tech wizard. I don't know how any of this works. I just hit answer when you call and hope my microphone works. And so all the more power to you if you can figure it out. If not, we'll link a video somewhere they can click on, or you will.
Yeah. I think we'll probably do a couple more trial streams that aren't public, trying to figure that out.
For sure.
So we were talking before getting on here about the big show coming up in May. The ship, the Gratiot County Open.
The ship.
Oh, yes. So you want to talk a little bit about the Gratiot County Open coming up?
Well, I mean, I've never played in it. I know the course very well.
Really?
No, I've never played in it. I know the course. It's probably my home course, if you will. I play that more than any other course. I don't really know what you want to talk about it. What do you want to say?
Well,
it's first weekend of May.
Yeah, it's a little ways out, but one of the reasons we're talking about it in February is because I'm actually going to be home back in Michigan to play it, which is pretty cool. So I thought we would go through, seeing as how we can't do videos, we can do photos. I can share my screen and do photos of the course of Reed County Park, or the Vines disc golf course at Reed County Park, and talk about kind of the way the holes set up, and then how we approach them, and how we want to approach them in 3 months, or however long. How far away is May at this point? 3 months, yeah.
3 months. 3 months from yesterday is the tournament. So
it's a long way away, but we're excited. I'm excited anyway to come back. The played, and I came in 6th. I want to say in AM3 Rec Division, #Rec for Life, and your boy and mine, Mr. Daniel DeYoung, took home the trophy and got a berth to Michigan State's. So that's pretty cool. So I'm pumped because it's like, it really is kind of like a homecoming. But I'm not anticipating to play. I'm not anticipating to play 6th.
Well, no, I mean, you're not practicing on it at all. What's going to really be terrible is the fact that I am playing it a lot. And if you come here and beat me, that'll really give us something to talk about. But I'm more so just excited. I talked in the first podcast about the last tournament I played, the only tournament I've played, just getting really amped up and putting a lot of pressure on myself and it not going well. So I'm excited for this one to just relax and just not look at it as a world championship type tournament, because it's far from that, and I'm far from that level of player. So I'm excited basically to just hang out and hopefully get to play around with you and just meet some new guys in this area. That first tournament that we played in is about, 35 miles, 40 miles north of here. Mm-hmm. And there's a good group of guys and girls that play that course daily, and they have a club, and they do their league thing. But it's just too far of a drive for me to make it to every week. And this course is a lot closer. It doesn't seem to have as big of a following. It's not as well known in the state. It's not a bad course by any means. It's just not as nice of a course. It's not as championship level of a course, I guess. But there's still a group of guys that get together weekly and play a league, and I'd like to break into that more and have some people to play with, because quite honestly, the guy that I played with moved to Texas. So I'm looking for some new people to play with this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people around that I know would potentially play with you. It's just a matter of getting them out there. You know? So, but I was looking today as I'm pulling up the pictures here of Reed Park. I was looking today, just kind of poking around. I was actually trying to find out what some of the best top-rated courses were in Texas, because we're getting ready to kind of start exploring the area as we move around down here and settle into Texas. And I noticed, and I told you that Deerfield Park, the park you were talking about, that's about 30 miles away from you, Deerfield Park jumped up to number 4 in the state of Texas, or in the state of Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
Which is insane, considering, like, I think they put it in like 2009. First time I played it was probably like 2012. So while it wasn't like we were there like since the beginning necessarily, it does kind of feel like that, because it was, for a while, it was like our home course.
Yeah.
And, for it to be getting that kind of love is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, and just for people that are watching, the closest courses to us, we've got the one that's about 15 miles south. We got the one that's Deerfield Park that Tori was just talking about, 30 to 40 miles north of where I'm at, and then another course that's about 30 miles north of us as well. So there's not a ton that's around here.
It's not like here in Houston. I sent you that picture today where
there's not plentiful courses everywhere. And one of those 3 courses is a course that's owned by the university, and they don't really take care of it. It's got rubber tee pads that are all uneven, and there's always beer cans everywhere. And I try to pick it up as best I can, but I'm a one-man crew, and a lot of college kids that are just finding a disc in the local pond and going and playing with one disc and 30 beers. So
or going to the university bookstore and picking up some discs on with their refund money.
Yes, I know a guy that did that.
I know a guy that did that too.
Yeah, I bet
his name was me.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's cool that Deerfield's that high up there. I know there's the guys that designed it, that run the leagues, that take care of it. They do a really good job taking care of it. I mean, even this past week when it was -40 and we got a foot of snow, they were out there shoveling tee pads, salting tee pads, clearing around baskets, and doing anything that they could to make it. If you wanted to brave the weather and go out and play, they made sure that you could. And I know that I appreciate it, and a lot of other people in the Central Michigan area, and even just people from Michigan, because people travel from all over the state to come to this course.
Oh yeah,
they do their job taking care of it, and they probably don't get enough credit, honestly.
Yeah, and I think we would both agree that aspect of disc golf is one of the things that we like most about it, is that it really is just kind of it. Even though it's getting bigger and it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world, I mean, it's getting big over in Europe just as much as it's gotten big here over the last decade or so. It still has that kind of small community feel to it, and people, if you run into somebody on a disc golf course, it's not like they're a stranger. At least it seems that way, So
I told you this like around Christmas time. I think disc golfers, they get a bad rep in a lot of parts of the world by a lot of people, because disc golf is still kind of viewed as the hippie sport, I think. And people just associate drugs and drinking and this and that. And I won't go into that. But what I told you was that disc golfers are like some of the best people that I've ever met. I've only been playing for a handful of years now, but I've met some awesome people out on the disc golf course. And I don't know that I've ever met somebody that's not gone out of the way to, show me what I could do to improve, or just shoot the shit or whatever. Doesn't matter if it's a group of 2 or a group of 30 that I walk up on the course. Everybody goes out of their way to see how you're doing, how your day is going, how your round's going.
Yeah.
I think it's just a family like no other sport really has right now. And I hope it stays that way forever, because quite honestly, it's one of the things that I don't like about ball golf is just the high profiles, or people that think that they're just hot shit and they're really not. And I'm not good at ball golf either. So, but I know that, and I don't try to pretend that I am. And so when I go out on a course and I see somebody that's worse than me, but dressed head to toe in, a couple $100 worth of Nike gear so that they can look apart, and they're shanking it all over and they're just being an ass, I don't want to go back there.
Yep. The country club mentality.
Yep.
And thankfully disc golf doesn't have a ton of that. I honestly can't. I was gonna say, I'm sure there's places, but I've played a lot of different places around the country, and you have too. I mean, you've played Rock Hill. I've played some courses out in California that are, some of the first disc golf courses ever created. I played Morley Field with my dad on my 21st birthday. Really played all over the state of Michigan. And we were just talking today about how we've played tons of different places all over the state of Michigan. I cannot think of one place where I've gone where there was that kind of exclusivity feeling. And I think that just says a lot about the community in general.
Yeah, so. I think so too. I'm a bit distracted here. I had to post something for work on the work Facebook page. I have to post a local high school basketball update. Panthers got the W, if you were wondering.
Yeah, they did.
So they took down the Blue Jays, which is great.
Dang Blue Jays!
13-point victory.
I should be a Shepherd Blue Jays fan because that's where I lived when I lived up there. But alma mater takes precedent, I think.
I guess so.
But so a real funny quick story because it's going to segue into talking about Reed Park and the Gratiot County Open. And we were just talking about the bad rap that disc golf sometimes gets. So have I ever told you about the story about the guy that I played with that first tournament at the Gratiot County Open?
Maybe briefly, but I don't know.
So I'm not going to use the guy's name because he's on YouTube and I mean, he's an older guy. He's really old school.
Sure.
But I'm sure people could look him up if they really wanted to. Not that anybody's here to care, but just to be courteous.
Right.
But so this guy, like I said, he's old school. He's wearing a cowboy hat, and
that's awesome.
He's got the cowboy hat on. He's got a cutoff T-shirt.
This guy sounds like somebody I'd be hanging out with already.
He's got like the fishing shorts on with the big. They're not cargo pockets. They're like on the front of your thighs, and they're really short. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And then he's got on like Jeff Somerville sandals.
Jeff Somerville. Okay.
So that just to paint the picture, and then in his bag, he had 4 DX T-Birds, 4 like old magnets, like the 4-chain magnets, and then like a rock or 2 maybe, and that was all he had.
Right.
And he had him in one of those like nutsack bags, the like brown,
satchel,
real one. Yeah. So we're all at like the practice basket, and everybody's putting, and everybody's just looking at this guy because he looks so out of place. Even there's not a ton of diversity in the disc golf community, at least not in Central Michigan, but even that guy, looked out of place. He was definitely the oldest guy there. He wasn't playing like Masters or anything. He was playing AM3, and of course
he wasn't wearing tennis shoes.
He wasn't what?
He wasn't wearing tennis shoes. He was wearing sandals. So
yeah, that can really contribute.
He was wearing a cowboy hat in Central Michigan.
That can contribute. Yeah, I've done that before.
No. Well, not to play in a disc golf tournament.
Not to play in a disc golf tournament, but it was a straw hat. It was it was like a Keith Urban kind of
okay, that's
kind of a cowboy hat. It was definitely
it was ton off him.
Yeah, maybe it was a cloudy day though.
Anyway,
so everybody's shotgunning their beers before the 2-minute horn goes off, and everybody's kind of heading out to the course, and lo and behold, this guy's on my card, right? So, and I don't know. When we played the tournament at Deerfield, we switched cards after round 1. And I don't know if we ended up on the same card for both rounds because we scored similar. I definitely know he beat me on the first round. I remember that very vividly because I was pissed. So I don't know if we just if he beat me by 1 stroke and it just so happened that we were on the same card the second round, or if it was like they kept the cards exactly the same. But anyway, we get done with the first round. He's beaten me by at least 1 stroke, maybe a couple more. And we get going on the second round. And I had noticed during the first round that he had like woodworking tools with him in his disc golf bag. And again, it's a small bag, not a whole lot of room for spare things. You're pretty much bringing the essentials, and that's all you got. And this guy chose to bring woodworking tools. And I'm thinking, man, this guy's such a strange fella. So we get to like hole the long windy hole. Is it 12? Where there's always a backup?
12.
13, 12 or 13. We'll look at it here in a minute on here. But so there's always a backup on this hole, and he kind of wanders off in the woods. And come to find out, his woodworking tools were secret hiding spots and a secret bowl for his weed. And he lights up and he spends like 15 minutes just smoking down, and comes back to play the rest of the round, and he is just gone, just stoned out of his mind.
Sure.
And his game just went to crap. And I'm not like trying to say like, hey, don't smoke on the course. I don't care if you smoke. I don't care if you like marijuana. That's you're a free American. Do whatever you want if you're an adult. But his game went to crap, and he and I were competing pretty close. And I ended up beating him, and I ended up taking sixth. And not to toot my own horn or anything, but took number 6 in game 3. So I got that going for me. Put that one on the resume.
Look out, sponsors.
Yeah.
It's coming for you.
I'm currently not represented by any company, so I'm taking all offers.
Yeah.
But that was my first tournament experience was with that guy. And
that'll do it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really play a whole lot of tournaments, but
Yeah. I'm excited to play another tournament. The first tournament we were able to play the first 18 together, and it was good, but it was also probably not good for me at the same time, because there were times where it's like, I know that I should be playing a lot better because we should at least be similar in score right now. And I was way off the pace. And so it made it even more like, if I would have just been with some strangers, it could have been like, well, maybe they're just really good and I'm not playing that bad, and I wouldn't have thought about it, and I would have just played. So that was kind of my first time. And then the second round, I got put with two guys that one guy was just a college student that he didn't really care. He was just kind of whatever. And then I got put with a guy that was like really hardcore, thought that he was like next Paul Macbeth. And he started out playing pretty good, and then shots started going downhill, and he started getting really mad, and it was a little scary at times. We'll just say that. I had my wife with me caddying that day, and I think you did too, but it was a little scary at times. Just tried to get through the 18 as fast as we could. And so I'm excited for another tournament and to play with some new guys and meet some new guys, and hopefully some good guys that I'll enjoy going and playing with another round sometime down the road.
Yeah. Well, let's go through the holes at Reed Park, and just, I guess, maybe briefly, we've already done. Yeah, I guess we started a little late. We're crested the 30-minute mark. But this, other than the grip tips thing that didn't really work out so well,
grip tip.
This was going to be kind of the thing that we did today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And the only thing that I'll say just for us is, I've noticed that when I share my screen, it still like goes back to you when you talk. So I'm not saying don't talk, but I'm saying let's let the people get a good picture of the hole, and then we'll discuss it, and I'll go back to not sharing my screen after we look at it.
Sounds good.
So here is hole number 1 at the Vines at Reed Park. This is the video. If you watched our last podcast, the hole number 1 video of Craig throwing that you saw, this is where it happened. So the basket is over here. We do have a little bit of a tight window here. It's only about I think it says 260.
Yeah, and just real quick before you get into this much farther, all these pictures are from when they were building the course, which I'm not sure exactly what year it was.
2010.
So a lot of this is a lot more grown up. Like this first hole is actually a lot tighter than this, I think, off the tee. There's some more trees closer to the tee, and so just keep that in mind as we go forward.
Especially considering also that this was taken in like March, so in the middle of the summertime or the early summer, like we're going to be playing it for the Gratiot County Open, the foliage is definitely coming into play, and it might not be as bad as it used to be, but the rough here at this course is very, very rough. If you get off in the rough, you're not going to have a very good shot, a very good chance to convert at all. So this is where the basket is, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of water behind, but it doesn't really come into play. Going back to this one again, you can see it's a hyzer shot. Some guys try and play up over the top and try and get that to that landing zone. This is guarded by a couple big trees, but it's a pretty accessible pin.
And you can't really even play that big high hyzer anymore because those trees have grown up quite a bit.
That's true.
In that water, really the only time that comes into play is if you play a disc that skips quite a bit.
Yeah.
But even those trees that are right by the water have filled in a lot more. So there's really not too much as long as you can get it down the fairway. It's a fairly easy hole to start with.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like, it's one of those holes, at least for me, that kind of gets in my head, because it is a really straightforward hole. I mean, it's, if you hit the gap, you're going to be looking at a birdie more than likely, as long as you throw the right disc. And it's really easy to just make the wrong decision and outthink the hole, really, or try to outthink the hole, I guess, and end up making a decision that is counterproductive to what you're trying to do. Because, you know, what I normally do on this hole, the way I normally approach this hole has honestly been to just take a Hornet and just hum chuck it. Just have that confidence of, I know I'm not going to turn this over. I know I'm not going to have to do anything other than throw it hard and flat. And it's going to get a little bit more glide than my Buzz OS, so it might actually get there and give me a chance to have like a drop in for my birdie. But usually, if I throw the Buzz OS, I have to give it more height than you're able to on that hole with those trees. So I throw that Hornet and I really try and get on it and throw it flat with just the right amount of height, and it just kind of skips over there or nestles down. Or I have, you know, a 30-40 pitch up for a drop in 3, and I'm not setting myself up for problems on the first hole.
Yeah, you really can't afford to take a 4 on that hole. The only real reason that you might take a 4 is if you don't get through that tunnel on your tee shot. One thing you can't see in that picture is, so it goes through the tunnel and it hyzers off to the left, and then there's some trees kind of guarding the basket a little bit in front of it. Kind of, yeah, you can't really see. If you go back to that other picture that you just had up, kind of like right in the middle of the screen, there's some trees.
There's like 2 or 3 pretty sizable trees.
So you kind of want to play this hole either a little long or a little short, because there's kind of openings on both sides of those trees. But I personally throw a Buzz OS. It's a beat-in Big Z Buzz OS. It's kind of flippy, so it goes a little bit longer than maybe my other older Z Buzz OS. But same thought that you think. I just throw it up there and let it kind of do its thing. I've thought about this year maybe taking an Undertaker and just kind of lightly throwing it through there, kind of on that same line, and just letting it finish hard left. Really, even if you just threw a putter straight down there, you still have a look at a longer jump putt, but you can lay up for 3 easily, no problem. And if that's something that's in your head and you don't want to get in trouble off the first tee, a putter straight down the fairway is going to put you in fine shape to take a par.
Yeah. And that's honestly, like, thinking about tournament play. If we're out playing a casual round, obviously I'm gonna throw mid range and I'm gonna try and get a 2, because I'm not worried. There's not any consequences really. But thinking about tournament play, I do have a tendency to try and start off as conservatively as possible, just because I don't want to get behind. I guess I don't want to take bogeys early, and especially at Reed Park, as we'll continue to see, the first 4 holes. You know, if you're going to be mildly aggressive, you know, you can come out of there 4 down. I would say if you're going to be conservative, you could still pretty easily come out at least 2 down. But you're definitely going to want to come out of those first 4 holes under par. And so I think generally for me in the tournament side of things, like a challenger off the tee in that spot is probably, it has a pretty high likelihood of what I'm going to go with. So,
Yeah.
All right, let's go to hole number 2, shall we? This is another bad picture because it doesn't really show at all how much this course has grown up. I mean, all these little trees. Again, this was almost 10 years ago now. 9 years ago. If you can imagine 9 years of growth on these trees, you can't see that far tree line. Yeah, you can't see the basket. You can't see that far tree line back there. You really can't see much past this short little opening here of grass. I mean, it gets so thick so fast that it's, I mean, pretty much, in my opinion, the only way I've ever had success on this hole was just with a high hyzer, with a zone or a Buzz OS, depending on what the wind.
And again, that shot's kind of taken out too, because those trees have grown up so much, and even the trees on the left side when it comes back down through the trees, it's not able to get a clear shot at the basket like it used to. I personally wish that they would cut some of those trees out so that you had somewhat a look at a birdie, because I don't even know. Maybe there's a route that you can take that you can get there and get in two, but I don't see it. And unless you get really lucky and you just kind of blow through there and hope for the best.
Yeah. The only way I've ever had success getting a 2 on this hole is the extremely high spike hyzer, and even then you have to get lucky. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really it. That this is one of those holes where if you have the arm and you really have your distance dialed in, you know, for a long time for me it was that old white ESP zone that wasn't quite so overstable. I could throw it on a decently like a more flat hyzer, and it would get a little bit more carry for me, so I could get to where, you know, the kind of the walking path is that runs parallel to where we're looking here towards where those trees are.
Yeah.
I could get to that kind of clearing, but even that's not really a clearing anymore. So
no, that's what I mean. You can't. I mean, I think Dan still tries to go that hyzer route. I don't have a strong enough arm to get it up over the initial trees that you need to get it over and still get it there. But even if you do get it there, it's so grown in that it can't drop in the spot. So what I've been doing is just taking that Buzz OS that I used on the first hole, and I basically just try to blow straight down the fairway and get to the walking path that you just mentioned.
yeah,
From 2's basket to 3's tee pad, and then just kind of trying to play up from there. Usually I can get it through there. If not, I hit a tree, and then it's just a pitch with a putter, just trying to lay it up there and tap it in for a 3. It's just really one of those holes. If you get lucky and you can get a 2, it's a huge steal. But most of the time you're looking at a 3.
Yeah, at least for guys like us. I mean, I'm sure that there are guys that they can make that high. They got to, you know, whether it's a Firebird or any other big higher speed driver that they know they can drop right in there. But I was just thinking about, as we were talking, though, depending on what the ground looks like, I was talking about that skip shot with the machete the other day. That might be something. If we can squeeze a practice round in,
that's an option.
If we can squeeze a practice round in, or even just like the day of, the morning of, and I can get a couple good rips on that hole, trying that skip shot. The angle is extreme enough to where if I were to land it somewhere like right here, and I could get it on the ground at that exact spot, a skip over there is definitely an
something
option.
that I wish could come into play is like a forehand off to the left side.
Yeah.
A right hand forehand over that way. But it's so over there is basically a wood line and then a field on the left side of that. So it's really not open. I think they could probably blaze a trail through there to give that as an option. I think that would make for a really cool.
Yeah, just an alternate look at the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to hole number 3. So that's
the basket.
Yeah, that's the basket. I didn't even realize that it had another picture, but that's, I mean, it's a jail cell. The entire section is, and I don't think they've cut really any of these little saplings down.
No, a lot of them have grown a lot more too. But you can see off to the right is kind of that walking path that we talked about. And if you can just kind of keep it low and blow through these trees, and you can set maybe like even in the middle of where the picture is right now, where that stick kind of coming out of the ground.
This is a pretty common landing zone.
Yeah,
pretty much
you can either go for it, and even if you hit a tree, you're still looking at a pretty easy 3, or you can just lay it up and then tap it in.
Yeah. So hole number 3. This one looks a lot different now than it did. Let's see what the next picture is. Oh, that's the next hole. Okay. So this one looks a lot different now than it did too, because this big branch coming across the middle is no longer there, and they moved the basket back to pretty much right where my cursor is.
No, it's farther back. It's off to the right. Yeah, it's quite a ways back there. It's tucked back to the right. So you used to be able to just kind of take a putter,
or Comet.
Yeah, or Comet or whatever, and either just punch it up there, or you could even give it a good run. Once they got that branch that was going across there out of there, you could really give it a good ace run. Then they moved the basket back to the right, and probably, I don't know, 70 feet maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say 50, 60.
Somewhere in there. But it's tucked back there. It's actually a really cool hole. It's maybe my favorite on the course. A lot of guys kick off trees and kick off to the left, which is basically just a big ditch.
Yeah, there's like a ditch over here.
Pretty easy to get out of, though. It looks very wooded, but you can pitch out and up to the basket fairly easy from that spot.
Yeah. For me, this is pretty much always just if I'm feeling confident enough in the Comet, especially now that it's longer, I'll throw the Comet because I know it'll get there. If I can put it on the ground somewhere, right in this area, it'll slide most of the rest of the way up there, and I don't have to worry about hitting something and getting a really bad kick. But in the past, when it was closer and after that branch was out of there, this was just an easy magnet shot for me. It was one of those no brainers. You just throw it up there and let it settle, and you got your two. So
yeah, I'm trying not to say too much. I want to give another look at the hole because I just remembered that I was explaining that whole hole and you probably couldn't even see the picture. So we'll figure out a way to overcome that, I guess. But
yeah, we'll make it work.
hopefully you got a good look at it. Not that it's a great picture, but
yeah. And I looked at Disc Golf Scene too to see if they had more updated pictures, and I'll go over there right now. It's really not any better. I mean, some of them are better. This does show hole number 2 a lot better how it's grown up now. So that was the one that we just talked about before, and I mean, like that was what I was saying. If I could put like a machete on the ground right there, that might work out.
Yeah.
But then like there's another shot of the basket on hole number 2, and this is actually going back up the fairway, or this might be the new pin location. No, that's still hole 2. Hole 3. Yeah, this is before the.
Yeah, I was gonna say these pictures are not even recent because like that log going across there is not there anymore.
This one on hole 4 here.
Yeah, and like 2 looked a lot more cleaned out than. Yeah. Not that it's like not taken care of, but it's strategically they've let stuff grow so that it's not just an easy pitch up there. Yeah, it's short, so they have to make up for it. I guess we could say the same about you. That's what I was gonna say. Short, so I got to make up for it. Anyway,
this is hole number 4. This is kind of the last really short, these more short technical holes before you get to open it up for a couple holes. This one's a tough hole because if you don't have a forehand, you're not really going to be able to get on like under the basket for your drop in 2, and it's a 160-foot hole. So that's really like the ideal thing is to be able just to take like a little forehand challenger, forehand zone and flick it up there. But it's obviously a very, very tight, narrow window. So what I actually
used that log that's going across the bottom, they have cut that out of there. So it's a little more open, but it's still a pretty tight shot and a low ceiling to get through.
The way that I actually used to approach this hole back, I was talking on Saturday on our last stream about that Stratus X that I got in my first ever like starter pack. And it was so beat in at one point that I could literally just kind of hang my arm at my side, not even really up like in a good throwing position, and just kind of flick it like a normal like ultimate frisbee, and it would pop up and it would go straight and then it would tail off, and it was like a perfect little forehand mimic shot for this hole. And ever since I don't have that disc anymore, I don't really have a shot for this hole. So I'll probably end up throwing just a nice easy magnet and try and slide it up there on the ground and take a 15-footer for 2.
Yeah, that's all I do. I mean, when I first started playing, I used to just try to burn it through those trees and get lucky and get an ace because that was the goal. Get it in there in the least amount of shots. And one of the first times I played, I threw it and it kicked off a tree and hit chains. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's possible. I got to do it. But now I just throw it up there like you were saying, and you have like a, 10-foot putt, maybe not even. So really you're just playing for the 2, whereas you'll see on the next hole, it's a hole that you really can give it an ace run.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move on to hole number 5. I got it queued up here already. This is a little bit better picture than the one that's on, so this is the comparison. This is just really, really does not do justice to what the hole has become.
No.
This is all nice and thick over here on both holes, or on both pictures. This middle bush that you see has been taken out, so that's not there anymore, which really, like you said, does open this hole up for an ace run. If you can throw a 250-foot shot on a frozen rope, you're gonna have a chance to ace this and deuce it at worst.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've hit chains on this. I used to just burn a buzz at it, and OB is long. It's a field, but there's trees right there that you've really got to smoke it through there to get it into the OB. You used to be able to throw a big hyzer off to the right and just spike it in there. Hit basket a few times doing that, Now I just toss a putter out there, and I mean, it's a pretty straight shot. There's nothing there. Like you said, that bush is cut down, so there's really nothing stopping you from just flipping one out there and really giving it an ace run.
Yep. And this hole on, or this bush here on the left too, I don't think is even really there. It's at least not that
It's
prominent.
trimmed back, yeah.
So it's really a pretty wide open shot. And yeah, that hyzer line was there for a long time, and then it wasn't, and then it was again. And that's a popular option for sure. Oops, I exited off of it. Okay, so this is another one this picture doesn't do it justice at all, but this is really the first chance on the course to let a big drive rip. And after about this point here, where you can kind of see that where it still looks narrow, after about that point there, it really opens up wide, and you've got a whole lot of room to throw a big flex shot. Let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, so this is a better shot here. It's 447 feet. The basket is up behind this far pine tree that you can see here. That's the pine tree is cut up. So if you're under the pine tree, you're still looking at like a puttable shot. But this is really the first chance to let one rip. And I usually, depending on wind, I'll throw my Big Z Force if it's a headwind, because that gives me a pretty good amount of turn into even a relatively mild headwind. But if it's normal wind conditions, I'll just rip a crank.
Yeah, on this hole, the right side of the fairway right here, it looks really short in this picture, but it's actually about as tall as the left side.
Yeah.
Now it's grown up, and really on this hole, you want to be far left or far right on the fairway, because there's just a lot of little trees and bushes just kind of strategically placed throughout it. And so I try to just either get as far left, or I just try to throw something straight out there off to the right side, which is what you're looking at right now, because then you can throw like a hyzer, like a zone shot from there, or you come back on the left side and you throw a forehand or just a big ante to get it back to the basket.
Yeah. So that's why I like the crank for this too, is because I just start the crank pretty much right at this tree. And if I get a good rip on it, or if there's like a slight headwind, it'll give me a big turnover, and then it'll check up and it'll land kind of, past these, obviously beyond, but in line over here. Or if it just stands up and then fades out on me, it's safe over on this side. And like you said, it's just either a little ante or a forehand flick shot up there. So
yeah, there is, you can see that first bush kind of straight in the fairway.
The short one right here.
That's really grown up now, and you want to at least get past that, because if you get stuck behind it somehow, it makes for a really long hole at that point.
Yeah, it puts you kind of between shots, because it's not quite long enough to be like a fairway driver, but it's a little bit too far for like the overstable mid-range that you need to throw out there to get it beyond the next little line of shrubs and stuff that protects the basket.
Yeah.
So it's a fun little hole.
It's honestly, it's probably my least favorite hole on the course. It's a great hole. It's a great design, but it's just one of those holes that it's like you should get a 3 every time, but depending on what your second shot looks like, you're either tapping in or you're looking at a pretty long putt, and it's pretty open. So the wind is usually always whipping on that hole, it feels like, and it's one of those holes that gets in my head anyway.
Yeah. So this is hole 7. This is a pretty decent picture, actually. It does a pretty good job of kind of indicating just the reality of what you're seeing when you step up to the shot, which is, and you really can't even see it very well in the picture, but this little window right here, you can see the basket, which is very small down there. But you got these 2 big guardian trees, and there's a line, big hyzer line this way. There's like a lefty hyzer or a forehand hyzer line this way. There's the option of just if you can keep a buzz on a really tight line, a buzz straight down the middle, but it's 370 feet, as you can see here. So for the majority of people, it's outside of that mid-range distance. Most of the time, I'm throwing a high hyzer flip line with a Surge SS that I use as kind of like my control hyzer flip distance driver, and I'll throw it somewhere right about here, and it'll pop up. It'll carry a long way. And I'm just looking to get around all this stuff. And that's pretty much the best I can hope for.
Yeah, I've seen Dan. We talk about Dan a lot. He's one of our buddies that he's got the biggest arm of anybody that we play with. He's just kind of just kind of got that disc golf body, skinny frame, long arms, and he can just zing the
Very
thing.
athletic.
But I've witnessed him take his destroyer and take that high hyzer that you're talking about and flip it up and hit chains multiple times, which is not even imaginable to me because I don't have that big of an arm. So you mentioned
he's taking about 20% off it there too, and giving it a really, really high line.
Right. You mentioned the buzz route, and that's actually what I do because I've tried to take that hyzer out, and I end up dropping in those trees off to the right, like you mentioned, and both the trees on the right and on the left, you don't really want to get in because there's trees, but then there's like bushes grown in and they're thorns, and you just don't want to get in there. And so I actually take the buzz route that you mentioned, and I just try to blow through there, lay up, and then I'm looking at, I don't know, 100-foot shot, and then I just take a putter and I try to run it at it, and if nothing else, I'm close for a 3. You just don't want to get off to either side of the fairway on that hole.
Yeah. So I'm trying to pull up a picture here. This is a really up close view of the basket, but it does have this guardian tree here. And I very distinctly remember one time we got some prototype discs back in our Central Disc Co. days. We got some prototype discs from Streamline Discs. And one of them was, I can't remember what it was called, but we let Dan try it out, and he was actually hung up in this tree, throwing that high kind of hyzer flip.
And he was high up in the tree too.
Yeah,
he wasn't like 3 branches up. He was at the top of that tree.
Yeah.
So the basket's 370. So imagine how far that thing is going.
Yep.
Farther than I can throw it. That's for sure.
He crushed it. He's got a cannon. But all right, hole number 8. So this one I hate more than any other hole on the course because my forehand is so terrible. But it does take this kind of straight right turn, pretty much right where this last tree is. It starts going that way. And let's see if it's got a little shot. Yeah, it'll show you here.
Straight to the right too. Yeah.
It's not much further. I mean, that corner tree is probably somewhere over here off picture, but it's not much further. It's a 90-degree turn the wrong direction for a righty, and I cannot throw a forehand to save my life. So I normally just try and throw a putter out somewhere to land probably about here and try and either take my medicine or run chains depending on how I'm feeling with the putter that day.
Yeah, even right there is not a bad spot to be. You can run it pretty easily. I know some guys throw a big Annie line with like a meteor or something and try to let it just come back to the chains. I've just started taking a zone. My forehand is not good either, but I just have been taking a zone and just trying to stand still. Don't even try to do a run up. Just stand on the tee pad and just kind of flip it kind of up to where you're saying, but hopefully get a little bit of a skip and be a little closer than if I were to take a putter backhand.
Yeah. Yep. It's a relatively straightforward hole. You just have to have the right shot in your bag to make it work. And you're either looking, and it's a 4. I'm not saying 4 is out of the question because Lord knows I've taken plenty of 4s on this hole, but a 4 on this hole is you have to have a pretty unlucky break. So as long as you play smart, you're looking at a 3 probably.
Yeah.
So hole number 9, this is probably one of my favorite holes on this hole. Sure. I've had more ace runs on this hole than just about any other hole, with the exception of maybe the ones that I have aced. But it's just a nice straight 200-foot shot. It curves a little bit left to right. The basket's kind of behind this little patch of shrubs here, and the basket's also kind of protected, low ceiling around the green. But pretty much I just take a little Comet and I just put it on a very, very slight anhyzer line, give it some room to work left to right, and it usually is parked.
Yeah, there's not a lot to this hole. I used to throw a truth on it, a beat-in truth that would just flip up and go right, and it was money. Now I'm throwing a Z-Buzz that does the same thing. Coming off the tee, there's not a lot of obstacles high, so you can kind of throw that high anhyzer line and just kind of let it drift off to the right, and it fights back hard at the left, and you're right there at the basket. That's the idea. I can't tell you how many times I've cranked it too hard right and ended up in the woods right here on the right side of the fairway, or didn't crank it enough and it tailed off before it got up to the basket. But even then you're looking at a pretty easy pitch out and lay in for 3.
Yeah. So that's the front 9. What do you say we wrap up the back 9 next week to lead off the show, and
Sure.
we'll come up with a second segment for next week, and we'll have that on tap for people to watch next Tuesday.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to this round. I know we're talking about it 3 months out, but it's gonna be a time, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to continuing with this stream. So
It'll be good.
All right, man, take it easy. And for everybody out there watching, we will see you next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Central. So if you're in Michigan, 8:30. If you're in Texas, 7:30. And if you live somewhere else, we don't care. So
Google what time to watch.
Yeah, use your brain.
Or just wait till the next day and watch it on replay.
That's probably what most people are going to do. We've had like 4 viewers.
Hey,
but it's 4 more than we had Saturday.
We can just keep doing that 4 times more the next time.
Boom.
We're blowing up, baby.
Anybody watching this, we'll leave a link in the description to follow us on Instagram. We are at DGCentral_. I had to think about it because we changed it. DGCentral_. And we are going to start doing a disc golf for the week starting this Friday. So if you want to be featured as our disc golf for the week, reach out to us and we'll take a look at what you have.
Or if you want to be on one of these, or you want us to talk about something specific, let us know. I mean, we're honestly here for you guys and just would love to help grow disc golf any way that we can and with anybody that is willing.
Yep. We'd love to connect with anybody around the country, around the world who just wants to talk about disc because they love it, because it's fun. It's something that I've been playing for going on 10 years now. Craig, you've been playing for like 5 or 6 now at this point.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So it's something that's just kind of stuck with us. And even when there's some seasons where we don't play as much or follow as much of the pro game as other times, we always come back to it. And it's always something that we've enjoyed. So we'll be here for as long as we are.
Until we're not.
Right. So, all right. We'll see you guys next week. Signing off. See y'all.
See ya.